Hi everyone, I'm Anna McLennan, Manager of the Southwest Regional Fisheries Group, and I'm joined by Joanna Massini from Defra, who is working on the cockle fisheries management plan. Joanna is going to be answering some questions today, which may help you complete the consultation for the FMP, which is currently open until the 19th of January 2025. Hi Joanna, thanks for joining me today. Could you give me an overview of the cockle FMP just before we start the questions, please?
Of course. Anna, first of all, I'd like to say I'm the policy lead for cockles and I am in the non-quota species team in Defra, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here with you today talking about our lovely cockle FMP. Now, I've decided to put this information here for our stakeholders because from previous stakeholder engagement that we've had, not everybody had the opportunity or the ability to go through the cockle FMP. So this information gives you sort of a snippet, if you like, information on the cockle FMP, the things that matter, the things that are relevant to you and your business, possibly. So the cockle FMP is a national plan, but we do not address local fishery management issues, bylaws, regulating order, permits, this kind of things. These are the issues that we strongly encourage fishermen to be talking to their local IFCAs about. Now, the cockle FMP proposes three things. The first one is that we need to understand our private fisheries. I'll explain a little bit later that we know that we do have private fisheries, but we don't really have any information about, do they have any wild cockle stocks, for example, within the grounds, and how they are managed. We also want to develop understanding of emerging fisheries. We know where we have a current cockle beds, but there are fisheries in inshore and offshore waters that are emerging, and we would like to be able to understand where these are. The last thing that we are proposing to do through the consultation, and specifically the questions we are asking, is that we would like to establish a national forum. We see that as a way of giving voice to the industry, if you like, to the various sectors, to get together, to discuss common issues, to share best practice, and to address other issues that not just affect cockle stocks, but also other bivalve species that are found in the same fishery. And what comes to mind really is manila clams, razor clams, species like that. Now, we had a few challenges while drafting the cockle FMP, which we discovered and we have identified as evidence needs. For example, the national and local data. We have identified discrepancies between the data, for example, that IFCAs gather and those that the MMO gathers. So these are the kind of things that we would like to understand, but also to do something to correct, if you like, this discrepancy. And also we have variable management, as you know, there are different cockle beds, different cockle fisheries around the country. So the management, because these are distinct fisheries, the management varies from one area to another. So we would like to get a better understanding of that variable management that we have in place.
Thank you. So what species does this FMP cover?
Right, brace yourself, Anna. This is the Cherastoderma edule, which is the Latin for the common cockle. And of course, it covers all English waters.
And why do we need an FMP for cockle?
Right, as you can see in the slide, we have sort of become aware of the stock, how vulnerable it is to overexploitation. But fishing activity and in the intensity of it, if you like, is not just one reason why we prioritize the cockle FMP. Our stakeholders, I think, know better than I do that this fishery brings tremendous social and economic benefits to local communities. But also, if you have a look at the species species itself from a biological point of view, you can see it cleanses our seas, it filters the water, so it brings a lot of environmental benefits for its immediate habitat, if you like, but also for wider biodiversity, if I manage to put my teeth in. So all in all, we strongly believe that this is a very, very valuable fishery, and we want to protect it and we want to preserve it for future generations and for our local communities for years and years to come.
Will the cockle FMP extend to private fisheries?
As I said, we don't know. Our data on private fisheries is a little bit poor. So we are trying to understand where they are and if they do have wild cockle populations, because as you know, the cockle fishery is wild. Then we would like to understand how these wild cockle fisheries are managed. It is possible that we have wild cockle fisheries within, private grounds. So all we are seeking to do at this point is to find out where these private fisheries are, so that we can have a few contacts, if you like, to engage with. And of course, I touched on how important the stock is for the wider biodiversity of the environment, but also when the IFCAs are looking at the health of the stocks within their waters, they get, if you like, a partial picture of the health of the stocks. So if you have also an idea of how the wild cockle populations are doing within private grounds, then we can have an overall picture of the abundance of the stocks. And as I say at the end of this slide, it's very important that the government understands the overall health of the wild cockle populations within private fisheries, to add to the existing knowledge that we have from the IFCAs, in order to be able to bring in an informed management.
And how will the FMP work with current IFCA bylaws and rules?
Oh, Anna, you have no idea how many times we've been asked this question, and it's a very, very valid question. But I have to say that throughout the document of the FMP, we have tried to make it absolutely clear that the legislation the IFCAs have currently in place is at a level that is appropriate for the needs of local cockle fisheries. So just to make it absolutely clear here, we are not proposing to change IFCA legislation in this iteration of the cockle FMP. And of course, we are not proposing to bring forward new management measures. These are within the discretion of the IFCAs.
And will the FMP address lack of harmonisation between IFCA regulations regarding rules and regulations specific to each area?
Again, this is a very valid question that it comes from our stakeholders all the time. And I have to be clear, right now, the answer is no. These are cockle fisheries, and by cockle fisheries and local, we mean, possibly mean one cockle bed here and another cockle bed there. So there is a good reason why these distinct fisheries are managed at the level where they are. So harmonizing these very varied legislative landscape, if you like, we believe would undermine the needs of the local stocks. There is a good reason why management is disjointed, because it addresses the local needs for the local stocks.
And will measures be aligned across English and Welsh waters of the Dee Estuary?
Again, this is a matter for the local IFCA. In this particular case is northwestern IFCA, but I have to say, as I put down on the slide, that when we were drafting the cockle FMP, the Welsh Government, Natural Resources Wales, and also, northwestern IFCA have seen the information that we put in the cockle FMP, which really is that the three organizations, together with all the stakeholders that are involved in this fishery, are discussing a way forward.
And will existing IFCA cockle permitting schemes be reviewed under this FMP?
No, not in this iteration of the FMP. I mean, these are local fishery management issues. They are not within the scope of the cockle FMP, but I strongly encourage our stakeholders, our fishermen, to feel empowered to talk to the local IFCA about these issues and if these issues are of concern to them.
Will there be opportunities for new fishers to access the fishery without being added to an already long waiting list, for example, through time-limited apprenticeships?
I fully appreciate this kind of question. I mean, we through engagement events for other FMPs, but also for the cockle FMP, the industry have been telling us that we have an aging fleet. We need to make provisions for the future, and I fully understand that you need new fishermen to enter, new blood with new ideas and new skills to face the challenges that the future will bring to this fishery. But I have to say, currently for the cockle FMP as it is now, we are not discussing these issues. We recognize it as something that we need to consider, locally. But access, as I said in the slide, access to local cockle fisheries is a matter for the IFCAs to consider. And again, I strongly advise fishermen to bring this issue to the forum of the local IFCAs.
How does the environmental report that was produced for this FMP feed into the actions?
Absolutely. I mean, how could you possibly talk about a species without talking about its immediate marine environment? But I have to say, in the draft cockle FMP, we have a few goals and actions which we hope will ensure that the environmental impact of the cockle fishery, all of them are captured. And it's more important, I think, not just to capture them, but also to understand them. One of the issues that stakeholders have brought our attention is about designated species, and in particular about marine birds and how they rely on cockles for their food. So that has been identified in the cockle FMP as an evidence need, and through the National Cockle Forum, if it goes ahead and if it is established, these are the kind of things that we would like to be discussing. But apart from that, other environmental considerations, you have to bear in mind that they're well established in the decision-making process of the IFCAs. For example, before the cockle fishery is open, the IFCAs have in place various environmental processes that they need to go through, the environmental assessments, stock assessments, and so on. So this is not something that the FMP, the cockle FMP, has come up with. It's already the environmental concerns and issues around the fishery, they are already embedded within the IFCA management. Apart from those that are specific to the cockle fishery, there are other environmental considerations. As we know very well, climate change is a recurrent theme in our fisheries, how the water temperature is increasing, water pollution, water acidification, all these things. But these are not issues that are specific to the cockle FMP. These are issues that are being addressed throughout the government, through all the other FMPs, through coordinated government initiatives, and of course, through specific environmental legislation that the government has.
How will this FMP afford to fund the evidence gathering aspects during the coming budget restrictions on government?
This is a very good question, and it's something that seems to come up again and again and again. It's true, with the current economic climate, we haven't got a lot of money, so our resources are a little bit restricted, a little bit limited. So we recognize that the budget that we have may not be sufficient for all the things that we would like to deliver. But you have to bear in mind, we need to work together with our industry, and that's exactly what we are seeking to do as the main thing through the cockle FMP. There is evidence out there that the IFCAs have, the industry have, the processes, if you like, and all this evidence, for example, needs to be gathered together and needs to be shared. And that is our approach in the first instance, to share data and best practice, if I may say so.
And when can we realistically expect actions from this FMP to be implemented?
Right. Good question, Anna. we cannot deliver everything at once, I have to say that. So the actions that we have when our stakeholders have an opportunity to read the FMP, they will see that we have sort of put timescales next to them. Some of them are short term. That means they will be delivered 1 to 2 years. Medium term is 2 to 3 years, and longer term is 5 years plus. And the reason for that is because we haven't got the resources, we haven't got the money, and we haven't got the evidence for some of these things that we want to do in order to be able to take them forward. So all that requires, first of all, time. So the first thing, realistically speaking, that we can bring in is the National Cockle Forum, if, of course, the consultation responses, the people, give us the steer that it is something good to do. And, you know, if they say no, then we have to reconsider. So yes, so this is the first thing that we say realistically we are able to achieve within 1 to 2 years and after the FMP has been published. The other thing that I'd like to highlight to our stakeholders is that the cockle FMP is a continuation of all the work that the IFCAs have been doing for a number of years now. Cockle research, for example, and evidence gathering has been going on for many, many years. So that has been captured and is one place. And now, going forward, the FMP has identified some additional evidence gaps, which we would like to address in our long-term planning. And one of those things, examples that I use here, is the variability of local and national data I hinted at in a previous slide. So yes, we have to be patient, I think, a little bit, and we have to work together. There are a lot of things we can do, but the first thing that we would like to put in place is the National Cockle FMP.
And when completing the consultation, should we be looking at the original FMP document or just the documents released with the consultation?
Yes, I have to, say that there's so many documents out there, specifically on the consultation website. We have 8 documents, I think they are. And the information is quite a lot. I can give you a very quick summary of what each of these documents contains so that our stakeholders have an idea about the content. So the consultation letter is like an invitation to our stakeholders. Hello, dear stakeholder, we're doing a consultation. Very grateful for your input. The consultation document is very, very important. As a start, this is the document you should be looking at. It contains a little bit of a summary, if you like, of the cockle FMP, but it also helps you to focus on the questions that we are seeking your advice. Now, the proposed cockle FMP is a very big document, about 40 pages long, but the executive summary at the beginning of the document will give you sufficient information. So if you don't have the time or the appetite to look at the entire document, the executive summary is the way to go. If, however, you need more details about the evidence, about the environmental impacts, about the current management framework that exists throughout England, all that information is in the proposed cockle FMP. Now, the environmental report gives you a summary of the impact of the fishery on the marine environment. So you can start with the penultimate bullet point, actually, the SNCB advice that gives you the summary of the impact of the fishery on the environment. And if you want more details on that, then you can delve into the environmental report. The engagement report sort of captures all the engagement that the Association of the IFCAs carried out between November and December 2023. It was quite extensive. And on the basis of that engagement, all the feedback that we received, all the information and advice from the fishermen, all those things have informed the current draft of the cockle FMP that we have online and on which we are consulting. Now, the impact assessment is, a government document. Every time we bring in policy, we have to assess the economic impact, if you like, of the policy on the sector and various other aspects. Because we are not bringing in any management measures, so the FMP does not have an impact on the sector, but it is an obligation of the government to complete an impact assessment, and that's what that document is. I've explained about the SNCB advice, and the final one, the FMP private notice, it just tells you what the government is going to do with your data when you complete the questions online, because you have to give your name, you have to give your email address, you have to say from which sector you are, and so on. I have talked through that bit of the slide. So yes, so I would say if you have the time, have a look at the entire FMP, because it really gives you an idea about the government's ambition of what we would like to do with the cockle fishery, really. And you need to know how your business, how your livelihood is going to be impacted. So that's the document, but it's quite long. For you to be able to answer the consultation questions, you need to access the consultation document through the online survey on Citizen Space. And you can see on the slide the email address where you can send us your views if you don't want to engage through Citizen Space. If you want to talk to us privately, for example, you're very welcome to send us an email. And of course, we have a postal address. If you have time between, enjoying your Christmas turkey and a glass of wine, you can send us a letter. And that is address. I would very much welcome your views on the cockle FMP. Even if you don't want to answer the specific questions on which we ask your steer, I would very much encourage you to get in touch with us and give us your thoughts, your views, your advice, because we rely on your knowledge and your expertise really to be able to take this national plan forward.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Joanna.
Thank you very much indeed. And can I just say a very happy Merry Christmas to all our lovely stakeholders out there, and a very happy new year full of happiness and health and cockles, of course.